Hey, okay. Now, I'm awakened on the spiritual level, and I'm not sure if you are, but some people consider the spirituality part of them not being the main observation about generalizing that person's lifestyle, which we are supposed to be more than just spiritual, but we're supposed to be um, other things as well, not just spiritual. But what I'm trying to say is that I have realized that some people are not spiritually awakened. So if you try to give them some type of information that is going to help them or something that's going to make the relationship between you and that person a lot better, just so that person can know who you are, I feel like they will not necessarily be there regardless, even if you did preach or remind them who you are. Because a lot of times, I don't even have to well, I remind some people sometimes, but some people would take offense to me just giving them like being sarcastic. If I'm walking towards somebody and I meet someone and that person is acting, I don't want to say like a lunatic, but let's say that person is acting like they don't have respect or home training, like knowing how someone would feel if you say this, or not trying to say if someone was to come at you and say something first and then you will lash out. A spiritual person would not lash out, but sometimes you make them lash out. But what I've noticed is that sarcasm sarcasm helps when you're trying to open up someone else's eyes so that they can see the spiritual side a little bit better. And I think I see a lot of times when Donald Trump says some things, or I would hate to say this, but sometimes when people don't, I'm had to be really real, okay? Because black people do it too, but I've seen mostly white people be more sarcastic. This is not to bash white people. This is something good because they have used and found a crafty way to not make someone else feel bad about themselves or the decision that they made, because they didn't want to make it feel like it was harassing them or picking on them because of how they acted or demonstrated or showed any side of not understanding a certain situation, which is really really smart. Because when you're sarcastic, not don't be sarcastic in a way that that person is going to be like, oh, I'm dumb. You calling me dumb. Be sarcastic in a way to where if they say something like ask you a question, and it could be something that's common sense or obvious, like what to do next. Um, like say for instance, if someone has a fire extinguisher and they're told to put something inside of a house and put everything up where it belongs, and someone, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Let's say for instance, somebody was told to um clean up everything and in the room, or say for instance you're at work, and your boss tells you that they're going to step outside for a minute and they want you to clean up the hallway and put all the supplies back where they belong. And then someone would come up and say, well, I don't know where to put this broom at, and then there's a closet over there with all the supplies. But when you first got there, the broom was laying against another wall, just on a just against a wall, any wall in the room where you were able to see it. So let's say the boss comes back and just to check to see what's going on, and the person that was told to clean up the area, they say, well, I didn't know where this broom should go, so I wanted to wait till you get back so I can ask you. And so the white person would say, well, this is not just white people, this is other people too, but I've other colors too, but I've seen white people be really, really crafty, which is really good because they didn't want to insult or feel like they was insulting the person that they were trying to get them to do the work, you know. So they would say, well, yeah, that wouldn't be a bad place to put the broom. Yeah, you can put it over there. Boom. So that's the part when I'm saying like some people aren't spiritually awakened, and color has nothing to do with it. But I feel like um, I feel well. Sometimes it could be sad if if you're in an environment and it's your family and they are not spiritually awakened, then that might be a really big issue. But even if that's the case, the number one gold standard is that you are spiritually awakened, and that's the best gift of all. As long as you are spiritually awakened, and the person who is spiritually awakened can also present a better environment for the people that they're around, because they create their own environment because of them being spiritually awakened themselves. So that helps a whole lot. um let's see. So that's what I really got about that. So whenever I'm at, because it's like when you're at work, sometimes you might find out that you're also spiritually awakened, and you might get one or two people who are also spiritually awakened, and then the rest of them are just not there. So now you're forced to work with people who aren't spiritually awakened, and this might cause you to feel like you don't even want to go to work, because a spiritual person can handle um life situations, knowing that they're going to be interfering with people who are not their type of match. But it would be more convenient if they did not be around a person who was not spiritually awakened. Um, Spiritual awakeness has a lot to do with how you were raised and brought up. So the people around you had to be spiritually awakened in order for them to um, generate ideas in your mind and how to think and how to get by with certain things in life that required you to use your brain and think on a spiritual level in order to make things happen in life for you to prosper. And again, to prosper means to be blessed, to utilize life's things to get you through, and in a better form, in a much greater form that's going to be good. It's positive to prosper. So, let's see. A lot of spiritual awakened people like to be alone. They really don't like to be around a whole lot of people unless they have to work, and that's their only way of making money. They have to be around a lot of people. Sometimes they're not around a lot of people, but a lot of spiritual awakened people do like, most of them tend to be like in smaller groups if they do have to be in a group. But a lot of spiritual awakened people can really um, be content on their own and by themselves. So they don't really need clarification from a group of individuals to make them identify themselves, because they've already identified themselves. A spiritual awakened person has identified that they are spiritually awakened already, so they don't need a group of people or another person to tell them that. Now, the right minded person who is spiritually awakened will remind you that you have a special gift about yourself. And that comes in forms of certain people in your family, or it will come in the form of a person that you would not consider being around, because they have eyes also, but some people can also tell if you're spiritually awakened. So that would not be a big issue for you um, um, to get the information from, because that's something you know for yourself. I know that if when you're working and you're having to choose certain jobs that requires you to be around people, that might tick something off in your brain, and it would definitely make you want to leave the area because you can see a lot of things that will make you feel uncomfortable before you start feeling uncomfortable because already um, a spiritual awakened person will be able to see if another person is spiritually awakened in front of them. So a lot of people can tell if someone is spiritually awakened from a distance without them even having contact. Not that they're able to read spirits like this person is a bad person, I'm not going to approach them. Some people can do that. Um because looks can be deceiving sometimes, and it's like until sometimes when you approach certain people, and because I know one time when I went to apply at a temp agency, I had to be there at 5 in the morning, and I went there and I turned right back around and I went back on the bus. Like I walked straight back to the bus stop and I went right back home. The reason why I did that is because I saw a whole bunch of African Americans. Okay, is the color has nothing to do with it. It does not. Please don't think I'm racist against my own race. I'm not. Color has nothing to do with it. A spiritually awakened person can see another spiritually awakened person sometimes from a distance, and if not all the time, because that's a really good gift that a spiritually awakened person has. Um, but what I realized is that I saw a group of guys standing outside of the front door of the temp agency that hasn't even opened yet. And they looked at like thugs. They did. They looked at like thugs. They looked at like, now, some people who have a thug like image aren't bad people because they are just having that image on them. And before you start talking to them, you're going to think certain things about that person before you start engaging into a conversation. But I and like some other people are very spiritually awakened, and we can see this type of demeanor and the type of spirit or the vibe, the energy that we get from a distance. So the thing is that I saw a whole bunch of people, whole bunch of guys standing outside. Some was smoking cigarettes. Some of them was just standing there, um, not looking like presentable like the way they were standing. So and that is a certain type of look that you get when you're just standing there and you're not standing presentably. Like there's a difference between someone who can stand and not feel their best or not be in a good mood and not have someone read them their body language and tell that they're approachable. Some people you can look at them and tell that they're not approachable because of what you were able to sense from them. Now, looks can be deceiving, so I'm not trying to pinpoint anything about anybody, but spiritually awakened people are very gifted, and we are able to determine if a person is spiritually there, And then when I got there, and I eventually one day I came back. Actually, did I come back that same day? Actually, I did. I came back that exact same day, and I waited until they left. And when I went in there, I saw that some people were actually. I was right. I saw that some of them, most of them, did have the spiritually lost type of personality. And what I saw from a distance, even though I could not see no one's face, what I saw from a distance, I was able to determine that is exactly what I was depicting the image of when I got to them and saw them face to face, like when I walked past them and when I got closer to them. So some people are spiritually gifted and they are able to see if someone is spiritually there. And it's not safe to work with people who are not spiritually there because you need to have a spiritual mindset 24/7. We are all sinners. Everybody sins, but some people just need to know when to be spiritual. It doesn't mean that you're going to be talking about God 24/7. You're going to be talking about the Bible 24/7, or at all, because a person who can demonstrate a good spirit without talking about God or Jesus or the Lord or anything in the Bible, there's their the vibe that they give off would be enough, for them to not sit there and preach and talk about it all day long. So that is one of the things that I did want to get out. But I wanted to make that point because some people have a hard time being at work, and it looks like to me that the people who, well, some people find a way to work from home and they are spiritual, and some people find a way to make their own money without working from home, but they have their own business or something, or they're actually at work and they're good spiritually set people. And I made a video about being spiritually set also. But some people, and I've seen some people who work from home, and I'm like, why are you working from home when you can be out there with the rest of the people and make money? Let people with good spiritually minded um demeanors take the role and have the opportunity to do things and share things that will enable other people to be enlightened. I mean, I've just gotten that, so I don't want to, and not everybody's the same, but that's exactly what I wanted to just get across. So you're spiritually set, or you're spiritually lost and you're not there. Or you can just be a person who is kind of like in between, but trying to find, their inner self and who they are and what their gifts are. And that's understandable. Just as long as you try to find the closest way to a good spirituality will make all the better of the difference, because the world needs people who are spiritually set. As you can see, yes, in the Bible days, it did talk about that there was a spiritual warfare going on, and it still is a spiritual war going on. But yes, we are sinners. We're going to do some things that we learn from, that we probably feel like what we did, that we did not really feel comfortable of reminding ourselves of what we did. That would come in effect for us to remember and remind us, to make wiser decisions. But at the end of the day, that spiritually awakened person is still that spiritually awakened person. So there you go. And that's the reason why I decide not to stay on certain jobs, and I'm working with people who are not spiritually awakened. Now, some jobs that you get, you're going to be meeting some people who are not spiritually awakened. But what I'm trying to say is that there are some jobs out there to where you will be working around a group of people who are spiritually awakened, but it's really not that many. So why not just get a job and work from home? Start your own YouTube channel, and or find something else to do that's going to allow you to work by yourself if you're spiritually awakened. Because a person who is spiritually awakened that has to be working with someone else or around another person who is not spiritually there, it is very, very uncomfortable. And a spiritually awakened person, 9 times out of 10, the good ones will not let you know that. They won't let you know that you're someone that they probably don't want to be around, because they are practicing um, not to make you feel informed that you're not someone that they want to be around, but they have another way of saying it or demonstrating it. They like at the end of the day, they just don't want to insult you. And I definitely don't want to insult anybody, because I don't want to be insulted. But sometimes people who are not spiritually awakened, They insult me already. So I know me and I know you should not allow people who are not spiritually awakened to be a disruption to you, especially when you know um how much of a inconvenient and uncomfortable feeling that you're going to be getting after that. So only the spiritually awakened people will relate to this, and I want you to try to get yourself to work at another place. If you're already having a hard time working or keeping a job somewhere, you know, try to do exactly what I just said. Try to find your own way to make your money. And a lot of people who are spiritually awakened end up hopping from one job to the next job. Sometimes people who are the problem, they hop from one job to the next job also, but really they don't really find the jobs. The people who are doing the most dirt usually find themselves to fit in, so they're really not. It's like they're spiritually there, but they're not. But it has something to do with if you're able to fit in. And I can fit in certain places, but a lot of spiritually awakened people do not fit in. So it's best for the spiritually awakened people to just work from home and find their own way to make their income without working with other people. Because the spiritually awakened person can be overlooked because they feel the person who is not spiritually awakened would feel like they have been overworked, or they feel like they have competition, and that will make the spiritually awakened person look bad because they don't want to compete, they don't want to do that, they just want to be themselves. So try to find something that you can do to make money from home is all I'm saying. Peace.